Alright, what's up YouTube? I just wanted to make a quick video about the Contax RTS II, the Contax RX, and the Contax N1. Now, the reason why I wanted to make this video is when I was researching these cameras, there's really not too much information on a lot of these models. The RTS II probably has the most information about it. There was 3 versions of it, the RTS1 or the original one, the 2, and then they came out with the 3, which is a little more automated. I have the RTS2. Like I said, I just wanted to do a quick video. I apologize. It is so humid out here in New Jersey for some reason. We've had rain the last couple days and it's just grueling outside. But we're filming this on the XT2, Fuji XT2 with the Mitakon Speedmaster. 35mm for any of you guys that care about that kind of stuff. But like I said, I just wanted to go over these Contax cameras. There's not a lot of information about them. I don't pretend to know all the information about them. I don't pretend to be a great video guy, but here I am trying to do the best I can. But I do want to go over some information that might be helpful for you guys. You guys can get these on eBay all day long. They're available. I got my RTS2 for about $165. I've seen them from $150 to upwards about $250. This one is in impeccable condition, and I'll get into that in a minute. I got my Contax RX for about the same price, $168, I believe I got that one for. The Contax N1 is a more recent camera. This camera actually, after using the 35mm film camera, they actually converted this one into a digital, which is called the the Contax N1 Digital, or N Digital. Good luck trying to find one. They're kind of difficult to find, and I don't know that I would spend my money on that. And the reason why is, although Contax cameras are amazing, they do break, and when they break, it is very difficult to get them fixed. There is a company in New York that I know fixes them. I believe it's called Nippon. But again, you're going to spend some money. Now, the reason why I say save your money on some of these cameras is because this one just went down on me. Phenomenal camera. I love it. The viewfinder is huge. It's bright, very clear. A nice LCD. I would say LCD. It's a red, numbering readout, but it broke. I think it's fixable. I contacted Nippon. I got to turn it in for an estimate, but I guarantee the estimate is probably going to be more than what I paid for the camera. I'm hesitant to do it, but then again, I already know the issues with this camera. I know the condition of it. It's beautiful as far as appearance-wise. So I feel like if I have it fixed, now it's been overhauled and I'm good to go. Where if I buy another one, I'm running into some issues as far as it's a question mark on if it's, up to snuff or not. All right, so let's get into the Contax RTS. This was one of Contax flagship cameras at the time. 35mm film camera, super sturdy, beautiful leather. Actually, I don't believe it's leatherette. I guess you could call it that. It feels like real leather. Trust me, I know. It's my other business, but definitely it feels like real leather. Completely wrapped around the camera. You have a self timer. You have a aperture preview. You have a mirror lockup. You have a your film advance on-off switch, exposure compensation dial, as well as your ISO selector. You have all your shutter speeds over here. You hit this little button in the back to move your shutter speed off of aperture priority, and you can spin this freely, choosing your shutter speed, or you can leave it on aperture priority and use your aperture, and it will obviously select the right shutter speed for you to make sure your exposure is correct. What I really like about this camera is the aperture preview button. This button can be pressed, show your aperture, your exposure preview. I'm sorry, I called that aperture preview. This is the aperture preview. Exposure check button. You press this in, it'll check your exposure. The other great thing about it is you can press it in, get your exposure, and you can lock that exposure by switching this up and then focus recompose, because it is center weighted, the meter. So obviously we know the benefits, but we also know the downfalls of that. If you're metering for something that isn't directly in center, and then you focus recompose, and now you've run into your exposure is off, and that person or subject is most likely going to be underexposed. So this is a great little option. And the reason why I think this is amazing on this camera is because this shutter button is extremely sensitive. And if you were to half press, well, there isn't a half press on it, but if it did have a half press, you would be firing off accidental frames all the time. Your film advance and your image counter, your frame counter here. This is they use this thing called the I believe it's a quartz contact. So the button is electrical. Now it's really nice, but at the same time, I have an issue with this camera, and so unfortunately I can't let you hear the mirror on this. But it's beautiful. The viewfinder is bright and huge, and like I said, this was one of their flagship cameras, using the awesome Contax Yashica, Carl Zeiss lens. This is the 135 2.8, great lens. And again, got this camera for like $168. Again, the lens, these are cheap. I've seen them for $90 to $100. You can get them for $150, $200. Probably in pristine condition. This one, it's been amazing, and I've adapted it to other cameras as well. So, but that's a Contax RTS. I wouldn't hesitate to buy one, but like I said, just make sure that you look over it. Getting into the next camera is the Contax RX. Now the Contax RX it's kind of a mixture between a old analog style 35mm as well as a newer electronic camera where they're starting to add some of their electronics into it. What we have here is a beautiful hand grip, more rubberized. We still have this exposure preview check button. We also have a aperture stop down, lens release. We got the 50mm 1.4 planar, Carl Zeiss, again, Contax Yashica mount. It's the same mount as the RTS. We're getting aperture priority, shutter priority, TV, program mode, manual, your sync, and a bulb mode. We have 4 seconds all the way to 1/4000th of a second, which is very nice for shooting wide open in daylight. We all know that film has a lot of latitude, but at the end of the day, overexposure is still overexposure. So this is a really good thing to have, a high shutter speed. We have exposure compensation dial from -2 to +2. And then this is the ABC switch, which coincides with your exposure. Another cool thing we have is single speed, continuous. We have a timer, and this is also for your program modes, I believe. But I usually leave it on single. I don't want to be blowing off a million frames. And the way you turn this is you just lift it up, and then you turn it to your selected thing. You also have multiple exposure right here. Another great thing that you have is your metering. Now we have spot metering, and we have evaluative for average. LCD readout for your frame counters. Camera turns on this way. if you want to exposure lock, if you want to lock your exposure, you press up, and that'll put it into AEL lock. Okay, you'll see that right there underneath. Push it back down. Whenever you see that this little orange reddish button here is exposed, now you know the camera is ready to rock. And this is a really nice camera. Advanced film advance. We have a your data on the back. If you choose to use that, it'll print out between the frames, I believe, the dates. To turn this to open this up, push this in, pull that down, opens up. You can see every time it advances right here, so you don't have to advance anymore. It's your film rewind lever. You press that in and to the left, and it'll automatically rewind, and you can shut the viewfinder down for long exposures so you don't have any light leak. You also have a hot shoe on the top. RX had the RTS has a hot shoe as well, if I didn't mention that. But let me see if I can get this mic off my collar here for a second and let you guys hear the can hear the shutter. Just open up the back for you. It does have a mechanical sound at the end, which is the winder. And if I put it on continuous for you, you can see you can get some frames out of it. Everybody loves the sound of shutters. So this is a great camera. Now the thing I like about this as well is the LCD readout on the inside is really nice. It's not autofocus, it is manual focus, but what it does give you is a manual focus LED assist. So what you're going to see is you'll see a line post in the middle on the bottom of the LCD, the bottom of the viewfinder. You'll see a bar, and it'll be one bar in the center, and it'll have a series of dots left or right. And as you dial in your focus, it'll show you which way it wants you to go. The dots will get smaller and smaller until basically they disappear and you're in the center line and you're in focus. It also has a, not a prism, but I don't believe this one has a prism. Yeah, it does have, this one does have a split prism. So you can confirm that way too, if you like to do it old school. But it is a nice confirmation. I found it to be very accurate. I do enjoy using it, and it's pretty fast. This is great. Great little camera. Very sturdy. It's got some weight to it, but I really enjoy using this. It is DX coded, but again, don't worry about that. You don't have to use that. You can simply hit this rear button here and use the switch that you use to access your priority modes, and switch that all the way down till you hit ISO. Right here, when you hit the ISO, you can set your ISO by using these two buttons up and down, and that will show you the ISO readout over here. So that's another cool option. You can also push it one step further and access all the custom functions, which if you get the manual, there's a bunch of custom functions that you can use to set this camera up the way you would like. Put this back on aperture for me. And now we're on to this monster here. Now the Contax N1, I believe, was their last film camera before they went to digital, and it is autofocus. And this camera was, I bought it because obviously I like a nice AF manual, you know, a AF 35mm film camera for you know, some fast shots. I'm still getting that awesome Zeiss lens. I'm getting that Contax camera body that I love, but it's also a little bit, it seems like a little piece of history to me, whether it is or it isn't, but it's their last 35mm film camera before they went digital, and they went digital in this same body. They used a Contax N body, but it's called the N digital. I don't know that I'd spend the money on that, because if it breaks, like we know Contax sometimes does, good luck trying to fix it. I think you're stuck with a paperweight. This is an autofocus camera. This came with the Carl Zeiss Vari Sonar, a 80 to, I'm sorry, 24 to 85, 3.4 to 4.5. So it's not extremely fast, but it is a very nice, smooth lens. Focusing, if you want a manual focus, zoom, and your apertures, solid clicks, beautiful, almost like a matte rubbery type finish on the lens, but it is definitely a solid lens. Beautiful T-coating, T-star coating as well. This camera has a beautiful LCD readout on the top. Also, it does have a exposure lock in the same manner that the the RX had it, and then right back again for just on. You do have a drive mode. Accessing this drive mode will put you into single shot, continuous, or a timer. It does have a light as well if you need to see your LCD in the dark. Over here you have you can use this to focus, and what you'll get is you'll get beeps, and you'll notice that it's not extremely slow. I don't know if you can hear the beeps. Let me see if I can get the mic closer for you guys on that. So, I mean, for what it is, you know, it's just, I feel it's just fine. But, you know, it's going to be up to you. I can tell you when I used it, it locked on. Obviously, it helps to get some contrast because I believe it is, you know, I think this is before phase detection. So it is contrast detection. A rear button here for single. This is for single shot autofocus, continuous autofocus. And I believe the M is somewhat of a manual, but I use it. I notice I use that for, you know, back button focusing. Over here, you can lock your your focusing points, or you can hit this down and use the little joystick around and choose from one of 5. You know, you got 2 on the right side corners, 1 in the center, and then 2 on the left side corner. So it's basically a square with a center point focusing as well. Beautiful eye relief, and again, you still have the you can close, you know, the viewfinder to not let in any light. You have a diopter adjustment, and again on the RTS, I'm sorry, the RX, you have an adjustment on the diopter too. The RX does not. I mean, the RX has it. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. The RX has it. The RTS does not have a diopter adjustment. But on the N1, you do have it. Again, same kind of custom function and ISO thing. It is DX coded, but you can use it for ISO to choose your own ISO. In the same manner, you hit the button, you spin that mode all the way down, and then you can use your command dial in the front. It has a command dial to choose your ISO. Push that back. You can hit bulb, sync, manual, program, shutter, and aperture priorities. You get in 4 seconds all the way up to 1/8,000th of a second, so we're a lot faster now. For metering, you have spot, average, and evaluative, and that can be accessed right here on this side switch. You do have a AF light. You do have an exposure check. You do have a aperture preview, or stop down rather, and this would be your lens release. Again, your exposure compensation dial up here, as well as that ABC function. Your shutter, your command dial can be used for selecting your, I believe, shutter speeds, if you choose to, by simply putting your shutter dial on the green button. I believe it could also be used, no, it can't be used for aperture. That has to be done manually on the ring. to open this. Flip this open, turn. Here we go. A little louder. Get that down there for you guys. I know everybody likes their shutters. So, and if we want to put this into continuous, on drive, here we go. Yeah, that's because I opened up the back, so it does an automatic. I'll get in a second, but here's continuous. So, let me get that back over. You hit the drive button and spin the command wheel to get your drive back to your desired drive mode. This, just like the RX, once the film is loaded into the to the left side, you put the leader across and put the tip right next to this orange spot. Make sure that it's laying flat. You close it, then you hit your first frame. It's an automatic take up, and it will display number 1 on the top. Overall, it all depends on what you kind of want to do. If you want to be completely old school and shoot, you know, like some of your other analog cameras that you might have, then, you know, you get the RTS II. They have an RTS3, but the RTS3 is going to be more like the RX. RTS2, still use all the amazing glass. Contax Yashica mount, CY mount, Zeiss glass. But like I said, I got this for about $168, and it's probably going to cost a little bit more than that price to fix it. But, you know, at least I know what I'm going to get back. So for about the same price, 168 to 200 and 250, I got this camera. A little bit more electronics, a little bit more new age, so to speak, with some of the focusing aids and the metering. Beautiful camera, but you're still manually focusing. It just gives you that nice little focusing aid, which I really like. And you also get another stop of shutter speed here. So that's, you know, 1/4000th. That's really nice. And if you want to get some autofocus in your 35mm photography, then you have the N1, which it's beautiful. It's a big camera. It's definitely a solid camera. Definitely, I believe, a kind of a plastic / magnesium. It's probably a magnesium body overlaid with a rubbery matte type of coating, but beautiful purchase for the grip. These lenses are more expensive because they have the autofocus contacts. So this is the Contax N mount. For instance, I've been researching getting a 50mm planar, and a 50mm planar like this can be had around $350 to $400, maybe a little less, but $350 for a very, very nice clean version. If you want that same lens for this, it's going to cost you around $799, I believe. We're at $630 to $799, you know, maybe even a little bit more. If you want an 85mm for this, again, I have a Contax Yashica 85 1.2, $430. I believe well over $1,000, probably $1,100-$1,200, I think, if I'm looking correctly. So again, it's really kind of where you want to go with what you want to shoot with. Again, I don't you know, think I have all the information concerning these cameras, but it's definitely something that I wanted to make a quick video for you guys. I know it hasn't been really quick, but I guess when I start talking, I just keep going. But that's the three: the Contax N1, Contax RX, and the Contax RTS. They're out there. They're beautiful cameras. Definitely think about picking one up. Take a look at them. weigh your options when it comes to lenses and what's affordable. Obviously, they're all going to deliver that Contax look that everybody kind of likes, that separation and that pop and the contrasty colors and beautiful rendition. At the end of the day, it's all 35mm film, so you know, Fuji 400H or Kodak Portra is going to look like Kodak Portra, whether it comes out of the RTS or if it comes out of the N1. So it's all how you shoot the camera and how you use the camera. How do you expose it? You know, again, I'll just leave you real quick with a little couple words that I think. I just in today's age where we're trying to get the newest and best thing out there with you know, Canon releasing the Canon R mirrorless and Nikon releasing two cameras, the I don't even know what they are, the Nikon I don't even know, the Nikon Z mirrorless and the Canon R. And you know, I love Fuji, but Fuji came out with an XT3 right after the XH1 or whatever they're shooting. It's awesome. I love it. I love that we're all stepping up, but you know, slow down, buy yourself a film camera. Doesn't have to be one of these, and shoot some film and see where your skills are and see how see what you can get out of film when you know, can't rely on Photoshop or Lightroom to fix your exposures and remove things. And you know, that's all well and good, and I get that we're using that kind of technology to shoot faster and safely when it comes to paying gigs. But you know, maybe buy a film camera for your own personal projects where you don't really care about messing up, and learn some truth about your photography and try it out. They're out there, and these are, you know, these cameras were well over $1,000 when they came out on the market, and now you can get them for a few $100s. In this case, you know, $150. So take advantage of it. In closing, thank you. As always, check out my website, josephdagostinophotography.com. I'm also on Instagram, Joseph D'Agostino Photo on Instagram. And I usually post daily, film and digital, and I always describe what I'm using. So if you want to see examples of lenses or gear, it's definitely up there. And